This week on NewsNight, the U.S. military will remain in Syria to protect oil fields. Sunday marked 1 year since the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue. A shooting happened by the McDonald's on Wood Street, and President Trump stopped in Pittsburgh last week. All that and more coming up on NewsNight. Good evening. I'm Zoey Angelucci. The U.S. plans to deploy hundreds of troops to guard oil fields in Syria despite Trump's withdrawal statements. According to the New York Times, defense officials made clear on Friday, October 25th, that troops will be sent to guard eastern oil fields against the Islamic State. During a news conference in Brussels, Defense Secretary Mark T. Esper said the United States would maintain a reduced presence in Syria to deny ISIS access to oil revenue, end quote. Additional steps could include mechanical forces and tanks that are not yet in Syria. This plan includes a combination of special operation troops already in Syria and other units arriving from elsewhere in the Middle East. Officials are expecting roughly 500 American troops in total. This claim put the number of troops deployed in Syria at an upward trajectory, although just a few weeks ago Trump announced the withdrawal of troops. Esper stated, "The mission in Syria remains what the mission in Syria began. It's always been about defeating the ISIS coalition. The mission remains unchanged," end quote. The Defense Department and President Trump appear to be contradicting themselves, and no one is quite sure what the exact plans are. Earlier last week, Trump tweeted about soldiers coming back home and oil being secured. However, just a few days later, Esper and other officials shared plans to input troops to protect that very same oil. Remember, repair together. It was 1 year ago on Sunday, October 27th, when 11 people lost their lives at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill. The shooting took place during a Saturday morning service and was one of the deadliest anti-Semitic acts in the U.S. According to the Remembrance Event website, the Jewish community has planned to hold a private morning service, community service sessions throughout the day, a study of the portion of the Torah that was supposed to be read during that service a year ago, and a public memorial service in the evening. The theme for the commemoration is Remember, Repair Together. New Light's co-president Stephen Cohen shared, "There is no intention in making this an anniversary. Anniversary indicates this is a happy event. This is not. We will commemorate and repair together," end quote. The whole city of Pittsburgh is still healing from the tragedy. Stronger Than Hate signs and the Star of David can be found all over Pittsburgh in support. The synagogue and Jewish community receive constant gifts and support to try to comfort them during this time. Tree of Life's Rabbi Jeffrey Myers, who was leading service when the shooting began, shared, "It is indeed our goal that one day we will return to the Tree of Life," end quote. The 1 year commemoration focused on the community and healing, not on the shooting and anti-Semitic hate. Last Friday, October 18th, police surrounded the downtown Wood Street McDonald's. An argument between 3 men broke out on Wood Street between 6th and Liberty Avenues, leading to one person suffering from gunshot wounds. According to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Pittsburgh police responded to the scene around 10:30 p.m. that night. The victim, who was alert and talking when officers arrived, told police that he got into an argument with 2 other men when one of them pulled a gun and shot him in the leg and side. The suspects both ran from the scene. According to police, the victim was taken to a hospital in stable condition. The incident is still currently under investigation. President Trump stopped in Pittsburgh last week to speak at the annual Shale Coalition Conference. Frank Smith joins us with more information.
President Trump visited Pittsburgh last Wednesday to speak at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center for the Marcellus Shale Coalition Insight Energy Conference. During the conference, Trump criticized New York, saying, "New York doesn't allow pipelines to go through," and referenced how nearby states such as Ohio and Pennsylvania do. Trump proceeded to thank gas and oil companies, especially the West Virginia Oil and Natural Gas Association, which Trump noted he won the state's electoral votes in the 2016 election. While Trump supporters appeared to agree with him, many people outside the convention center were not pleased with Trump's visit. Protests were held outside, and according to the Jerusalem Post, 14 Jewish activists were arrested. Many protesters held signs in opposition. Mayor Bill Peduto also told KDKA the bill for visiting the city and having enhanced police force has not yet been paid. Peduto stated whether or not we are going to be reimbursed is a completely different question. The final city bill tally is not in yet. However, Trump was billed $164,000 in 2016 to cover police overtime expenses.
All right, go.
Go to our new website, uview.plainpark.edu.
Go, 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 go.
Join UView and find your herd.
Be like, join EOP. And 3, 2. Join EOP.
I was just saying, grab them now, or else I can stuff.
Yeah.
Join on point with politics. 3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Welcome back. We have temperatures rising into the low 70s later this week and dropping this weekend. Here's this week's forecast. On Tuesday, we're going to have a high of 72 with a low of 51, and it'll be partly cloudy. On Wednesday, it'll be cloudy with a high of 70 and a low of 59. Thursday, you can expect some rain with a high of 67 and a low of 41. And Friday, it will be partly cloudy with a high of 47 and a low of 34. Temperatures will continue to drop over the weekend, and there will be a high of 50 and a low of 32, but mostly sunny on Saturday. Sunday, there will be a high of 45 and a low of 31 with partly cloudy. And Monday, there will be a high of 53 and a low of 39, partly cloudy. And that's your forecast for this week. A Democratic presidential candidate released his plan for marijuana last week. Maddie Gillespie joins us now with the details.
Bernie Sanders released his marijuana legalization platform last Thursday at exactly 4:20 p.m. Sanders plans to remove marijuana from the list of controlled substances if he becomes president. His plan says that decades of criminal prohibition on drugs have, quote, disproportionately targeted people of color and ruined the lives of millions of Americans. It is time to admit the criminalization of marijuana was a disaster, especially for communities of color, and allow those most impacted to move forward with their lives. Our job now is to legalize marijuana and vacate and expunge past marijuana convictions and ensure that revenue from legal marijuana is reinvested in communities hit hardest by the war on drugs, end quote. Marijuana is currently classified as a Schedule I drug, which means that it is prohibited for state legal cannabis businesses to use U.S. banks, resulting in a lack of access to financing, payment processing services, and even basic bank accounts. Sanders has been a longtime advocate of marijuana legalization and says his administration would review and expunge past marijuana convictions and direct states to do the same, using several initiatives from California as a blueprint. Sanders also says he would ban tobacco companies from participating in the marijuana industry. Sanders says that if he does win the presidential election, he will issue an executive order instructing the Attorney General to deschedule marijuana as a controlled substance under the Controlled Substances Act within the first 100 days of his administration.
Thanks, Maddie. That's your news for tonight. For all of us here at NewsNight, I'm Zoey Angelucci. Thanks for watching and good night.